All right.
This is Karen with newclevelandradio.net, and it's time for What in the World with Paul Seaburn. And what I want to do today, it's very special to me because I know this gentleman did listen to your podcast, Paul.
Okay.
But those of us in at least the Cleveland area, we lost a great guy yesterday. His name was John Adams. And the beating of the drum is just going to be a memory now.
Yeah.
But John did listen to What in the World. And
Wow.
so I want to dedicate today's show to John Adams and all of his friends and all the wonderful memories we have of a guy who for 43 years sat in the stands and banged his drum for our baseball team.
That's right. That's right. And what a great tribute, Karen. Thank you so much for letting us know that. And yeah, to me, Paul, chiming in over here, that was Karen Hale with that little intro for John Adams. For those of you who don't know who John is, if you're not in the Cleveland area, this goes back to what you said, 43 years?
Yeah, I think it was 1974 when he started.
Yes, he started
Standing in the bleachers.
Cleveland Stadium. And this guy was a drummer in high school, if I remember correctly, maybe correctly. And he one day bought a cheap seat in the bleachers at Cleveland Stadium. So he probably paid 50 cents or $1 for them. Sat there with his drum and beat it to rally the Indians, who at that time were so awful, nothing could rally them. And he became an institution in Cleveland. He was, I don't know how many games in a row he attended. He rarely missed a game, always sat in the cheapest seat, moved to the new stadium when the new stadium opened, moved to the Guardians. I believe, he was a Guardians fan as well. And he passed away just yesterday or the day before yesterday. So for those of you not in Cleveland, this is huge news in Cleveland, Ohio. This is someone who is beloved, someone who did nothing but beat a drum at a baseball game.
And he volunteered his time
honored
everywhere in the city. So
yeah. So wow, it's an honor for me to know that John listened to our show. So John, you look down on us. And the other John over here, I'll mention John DiNallo over here with our What in the World of Sports host. John, you have a comment on John Adams?
Yeah, what dedication. I mean, for all those years to do that, and almost a Cleveland institution in a way. I mean, it was just sad that he passed, and may he rest in peace. And again, glad that he was able to listen to our show when he did.
He went to Parma High School. I believe my cousin was classmate with him. He mentioned a number of facts that he knew him from high school. So John up there looking down on us, beat the drum for us for What in the World today. And what in the world are we going to talk about? Before I do that, thank you to everyone who is tuning in on YouTube, on Spotify, whatever platform you're on. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, I'm Paul Seaburn. I am the host and also the editor and head writer at mysteriousuniverse.org, where some of these stories come from, the strange, the unusual, more the paranormal stuff. Our motto at What in the World is real news, sometimes strange, always funny. So we try to have a little more humor on the podcast than I put into the stories at Mysterious Universe. Excuse me again, my allergies are acting up in this cold weather, and the heat's back on again. Our co-host and media mogul and announcer is Karen Hale. She owns newclevelandradio.net, our platform, does a great job of running it. A lot of great other podcasts there. So check her out. Check out all the great podcasts Karen has. And then, of course, John DiNallo, host of What in the World of Sports, our co-host, our trivia master, and all-around great guy. John is here every week in his dark basement. He's practically becoming a mushroom, I believe.
Well, I don't want to be a mushroom. I want to be recognized, I guess. But no, the dark background maybe helps, I think. So.
We won't treat you like we treat mushrooms, John. We'll keep you included there, and you got a good spotlight on you there, so that's
All right,
always.
good. Sounds good.
So let's see what we're talking about today. We have an update. We don't normally have updates. This is always a frustrating thing in my line of work, following up on many of these paranormal stories. Sometimes we're left hanging. Did the person who was abducted return, or did they find any evidence? So last week we had two very interesting Bigfoot stories, and I have an update on one of them. So if you listened last week, I've got an update. If you didn't listen last week, I have the photo again, and I'll fill you in. And I also have a news story for us here about a Bigfoot kidnapping. So this is Bigfoot's getting involved in crime now. This is unbelievable.
Wow.
Speaking of crime, we also have a sausage scandal from New Zealand that you'll like. The world's oldest mouse at the San Diego Zoo. We're going to talk about the world's oldest mouse. The world's grossest plants. Karen loves the gross story, so that's for Karen. The return of flubber. This is for you, John. I'm going to be counting on you with some answers for some trivia questions. And
Okay, sounds good. I'm ready.
The more odd news, more world records, and trivia. We got a great strange sport. This one was suggested by none other than Karen Hale. So I know Karen's looking forward to hearing about one of these sports. And then we play everybody's favorite weird news game, left the co-host. So let's get right to it with our first story. Okay, so this one just came out. For those of you who are listening and not watching on YouTube, I generally have photos, often have photos that go along with the story, and I'll be referring to a couple of them today. This is so it's always worthwhile to check us out on YouTube and see what the photos look like. I'll try and describe them to you. So this one comes from Home Depot. It wasn't Home Depot. They did a study. I don't know who did the study, but they did a study of single women, and they asked them, where do you go now to meet men, or what do you do to meet men? And the study expected them to say, well, I use a dating app. Well, those days are over, John. Nobody uses dating apps anymore to find single guys. What women do, the number one thing, they go and hang out at Home Depot. And they said the best thing to do is to go into the lumber aisle and look lost. And
That would be easy for me to do, actually. I mean, but anyway, but go ahead, Paul. Go ahead.
yeah, so that's it. It's look confused, look lost and confused. If you're into something kinkier, go take a friend with you and say you're looking for 2x4s. And that's always, that's the kind of thing that you just might run into in the lumber aisle. And believe it or not, it's true. I wanted to test this out. Not that I'm looking for, not that I'm a single woman by any stretch of the imagination. Nor am I single at all. I went to Home Depot, and sure enough, the lumber aisle is packed. It's like running a gauntlet through all the women in the lumber aisle, looking lost and confused. And even worse, I went to the aisle where they have rope and duct tape. You don't want to know what those women were looking.
Oh,
I was a little concerned in that aisle. So I feel sorry for the people who work at Home Depot. They must feel like they're pimps now. People come up to them. They used to ask, "Where's the plywood?" Now they're asking, "Where can I find a cougar?" And that's of course in the paint aisle by the silver paint. And so I was at Home Depot. I'm not, and I often go to Home Depot, but I don't normally go to purchase the items that are for sale at Home Depot. I actually go there to pick up double entendres. Believe it or not, you know where this is going.
I know where this is going.
I made a list, just the simple ones right off the bat: screw, drill, tool, hammer, pole, stripper. You got to walk up and down the aisles with my notebook, picking up double entendres everywhere you go. And of course, the worst one is do it yourself. So Home Depot, I hope you're enjoying yourself now that you have this new reputation for being the #1 place for single women to meet single guys. Okay, so let's get right to some Bigfoot news. Now, we have, we like to pick on Bigfoot, but I have a lot of respect for Bigfoot, almost as much respect as I have for the Loch Ness Monster. And as I've always said, I respect the Loch Ness Monster because that monster keeps the city of Inverness, Scotland in business with hotels and tours and souvenirs. Well, Bigfoot's starting to do the same thing in the United States. There are festivals, festivals all across the United States dedicated just to Bigfoot. Number of them in Ohio. So this one was in Longview, Oregon, which is a huge Bigfoot territory up in the Pacific Northwest. The 7th annual Sasquatch Festival. Well, tragedy strikes the 7th annual Sasquatch Festival in Longview. Someone stole their inflatable Bigfoot. And I know John, fly the flag at half staff for this. Here we go. Here's what it looked like.
Aw,
Kind of cute, isn't it, Karen?
Yeah, he's
I think so.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
kind of a docile Bigfoot. A lot of times you see Bigfoot in positions where he's strutting or whatever it is. He looks very docile. This Sasquatch or this.
I would estimate this photo, that Bigfoot is 10 to 12 feet tall. Big feet, obviously, holding what looks like a pillow that says Squatch on it in case you don't know who it might be. So it's terrible. So someone stole this Bigfoot. So the only way to find, was right in front of the festival. So this is how people were supposed to locate where to go. The only way they could do it now was look for a line of people howling. And that guaranteed those are people who are waiting to get into the Bigfoot Festival. The police are saying they haven't found it yet. They said be on the lookout for a car with a giant leg sticking out the back window, which obviously you can see how big that leg and foot is. Or potentially a lonely female Bigfoot heading off into the woods with her new inflatable boyfriend. That there must be a Home Depot right next door.
Oh. Everything is tied together. Very good. Very good.
Yeah. So it's lost. They don't know where it's at. They apparently have used this inflatable Bigfoot for a number of years. So our hearts go out to the Longview Bigfoot Festival. I hope you find your Bigfoot. Now, the story from last week. So I don't know if you remember this. There was a lady whose father passed away, and she was going through his stuff, and she found a box of VHS tape, and one of them, I guess she was looking through them. One of them had only a small segment of black and white video on it, and it was I'll show you a picture of a little screenshot of it. It was a video of what looked like a Bigfoot going across the road in front of two people in a car driving down a wooded road. She asked her mom if she knew where it was from, and her mom said, "Oh yeah, it was from your dad's college days back in the 70s. He and some friends were in California, and they were driving, and they saw this Bigfoot, and they said that it ran in. It really wasn't running; it was walking briskly in front of the car. Didn't look at them." Went into the woods, and as they drove past, it was gone. So they don't know if it disappeared or if it, whatever Bigfoot does to fade into the sunset. Covered with dark hair, long arms, long legs, big stocky stature. There looks like a Bigfoot. John, I don't remember what your analysis of this one was.
If I recall correctly, it was typical photo of Bigfoot wherever, because it's grainy. Looks like he's moving, but really hard to discern if that's Bigfoot. I mean,
without the video, and it's only a 9-second video, but
okay, right, but still, yeah.
And the arms are swinging, so it didn't look like it didn't look like a person in a Bigfoot costume. It looked like something out of the ordinary. Okay, so here's the update. I was so it popped up again on my Bigfoot feed, and it says, guess what? It turns out that the clip that the girl found on her father's VHS tape actually came from a movie called Curse of the Bigfoot, released in 1976. And I looked it up, and sure enough, there's a movie called Curse of the Bigfoot. And in the middle of it is this segment where these guys are driving and some creature runs across the screen. It was released again and it was a story, the news story. Apparently, Curse of the Bigfoot didn't sell very well, so he changed the title to Teenagers Battle the Thing, which by the way, that's a story of my life in high school.
Well,
but that was it. So unfortunately, we were all hoaxed by that one. The girl herself, it wasn't her fault that her father didn't label that he was going to hoax somebody in the future. So how about that? So there you go.
yeah, really.
You just don't know. Okay, so let's get to some world records. Oh, I love this world record. This is a great world record. So you're really familiar with the show Live with Kelly and Ryan.
Right.
Yeah, Kelly Ripa and Ryan Seacrest, I believe. They're on the morning on one of the networks. So they like to do dumb stuff. So one day recently, they tried to set the world record for the most number of sweaters adorned put onto themselves. And this is for two people. Most sweaters put on by two people in 30 seconds. How many, what do you think the world record for that is, John and Karen? 30 seconds.
Karen, go ahead.
I don't even understand what they were doing. Say it again. They did what in 30 seconds?
They were putting sweaters on.
Oh, sweaters.
Sweaters, yeah, sweaters.
I'd say 14 sweaters.
14. Okay, good guess. Little high. So the record is 8. So
Okay.
Kelly and what's his name, Ryan, nowhere close to that, which is understandable. I mean, Ryan Seacrest is from California. I don't think he even saw a sweater until he got to New York, where the show was recorded.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, really. What is this? So they didn't break the record. So after they went off the, I'll take this Bigfoot down here while I talk. After they went off the air, the Guinness people were there because it's Ryan and Kelly. They got to be there.
Right.
So these two producers says, "Yeah, we can beat the record." So believe it or not, a man and a woman put on 9 sweaters in 30 seconds and ended up breaking the world record for sweaters. Now,
Okay.
That and a box of Cracker Jacks might get them outside of a baseball game.
There you go.
Good one, Karen.
For those of you listening, we're speaking to you from the Cleveland area, from Northeast Ohio, where it gets very cold. In fact, it's very cold today. We're not impressed by people who put 8 sweaters on. Yeah, big deal. In Cleveland, anybody who has a dog that really needs to go out on a night when it's 10 degrees below can put 8 sweaters on in 10 seconds and be out the door.
There you have it.
So we're not impressed, Ryan and Kelly and your slick little producers putting 8-9 sweaters on in 30 seconds. I'll tell you what, I've been to New York and I know it does get cold. I don't care about sweaters. I can put 9 pairs of gloves on because you don't want to touch anything in the subway without at least that many gloves on there.
Oh boy.
So maybe we should try that one. We should try that record one day. How many gloves you get? Pairs of gloves you can put on in 30 seconds.
Never really thought about it, to be honest with you, but
Yeah,
I
well,
guess.
John, I know you're already figuring how you're gonna beat the system. Well, maybe I can rub shortening or Wesson oil on my hand.
Hey, where there's a will, there's a way. Absolutely.
Okay, so this one comes from the San Diego Zoo. This is an animal story here. Officials at the San Diego Zoo also are hoping to break a world record for their mouse. Believe it or not, they have a Pacific pocket mouse that they believe is the oldest mouse in the world, old, not just in captivity, but to be alive today. Its age 9 years and 5 months old. That's how long they've had this mouse at the San Diego Zoo. You know how a pocket mouse lives that long? 9 years and 5 months? By never getting caught in the back pocket of somebody's pants.
Oh.
Oh,
And no cheese in the diet. That's the other thing. No cheese in the diet. That's how you live. A mouse lives to be nine years and 5 months. So the mouse's name, but it's not Mickey, it's Pat. Pat the mouse. Pat.
Okay.
Pat. Named for Patrick Stewart. Patrick Stewart, Captain Picard on Star Trek The Next Generation. Everybody knows Patrick Stewart. Why they would name a mouse after Patrick Stewart, they don't say. They don't say. But of course, William Shatner is upset because he was the first Captain Kirk. He was the first captain on the Starship Enterprise. He thinks there should be a mouse named after him, not Patrick Stewart. This zoo says it has no sympathy for William Shatner. They said it's more appropriate that we name a horny toad after Captain Kirk. So that's what. So they've got a horny toad named after William Shatner. Even worse, they have a rodent named for one of the villains from Star Trek, and that would be the Wrath of Khan. Remember the movie, the Star Trek, The Wrath of Khan?
yes, I do.
I have to explain it. I don't have to explain these, I know. Okay. So now we go to the crime segment of What in the World. And this one is in New Zealand. Okay. This is a combination crime and food story. So there's an island called Waiheke Island in New Zealand. And the residents of this island are being tormented by someone who works maybe for the Postal Service down there, or maybe is trying to antagonize the Postal Service. But what they're doing, and I want to put up a photo of what they're doing here. These people are waking up or going out to get their mail, and what they're finding in their mailbox is this. That,
Ooh.
those of you who can't see it, is a sausage. The sausage is wrapped in a piece of what looks like wheat bread with a little bit of ketchup on it. And someone is leaving these sausages in the mailboxes of people on this island. And they so far have not been able to catch the person, the perpetrator of this, atrocity of leaving sausages in the mailbox.
Oh boy.
Believe it or not, the person who they don't know who it is. But they have a top 10 list, top 10 most wanted in New Zealand. And there's a blank spot, but this person is at the number 1 spot for the top 10 most wanted criminal in New Zealand, because here it comes, stealing, doing this with sausages is the worst crime you could commit. The worst. That's what I say. That's WURST, worst. I have a friend who's an Elvis impersonator, and I told him this story. He said, I got a song that'll go with this. And we're gonna call this song an Elvis song. Return to Butcher, because that's what this sausage needs to go.
Oh boy. It's very symbolic.
Okay.
Very symbolic. That's right. So I'll tell you what, if this happened in Cleveland, a sausage with ketchup on it on a piece of wheat bread, we would know immediately that whoever is doing this must be from Pittsburgh, because nobody in Cleveland would eat sausage.
Good point, Paul. That's a very good point.
Of wheat bread, John, not even white bread, wheat bread, and ketchup.
Just to get an idea, Paul and Karen, how many of these sandwiches appeared in these mailboxes? Any idea?
Too many to count.
Okay. All right. Okay.
It's a crime wave. It's a crime wave on this island. Now, in Cleveland, we would have a sausage on a bun, obviously, which we would call what? Pig in a blanket. That's the standard name. One of the names for a sausage on a bun, unless it's a beef sausage, of course, and then it's a cowabunga.
Ooh.
Oh my Lord.
I think finding a this must be what Halloween is like in Bavaria. When the little kids come up to the door and say trick or treat in German. I'm not sure how that would sound, but probably scary. And they end up getting a sausage on a piece of bread in their bag. That, to me, I'm sure that's the way Halloween is in Bavaria. So speaking of food, and I know I love the food story. This one is for you, John. This is a sports story. This
Okay.
one comes, and you may have heard that. There was a college basketball game played recently between Loyola in Chicago and Duke. Loyola, big basketball school. Duquesne, another big basketball school. The game was stopped in the middle of play, not because of a foul, not because of any injury, but because of this. Oh, that's not it. I guess I don't have a photo of it. The game was stopped because an Uber Eats driver walked onto the court with a bag of food looking for someone to deliver it to.
I didn't hear anything about this. Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Legitimate, actual thing that happened. So they they had to stop the game. They had to stop the game. And the guy wanders around the court with this bag of food. So what they found out is that he had 2 chicken sandwiches in there. So they immediately assessed him with 2 fouls.
Oh.
Well,
Oh.
okay.
Sorry, how lazy are we that we go to a basketball game and instead of going down to the concession stand and getting a sausage like this or a hot dog on a bun, they call Uber and have a meal delivered to you in the stand.
It had to be one of the players. Come on.
It wasn't one of the players. No,
It wasn't. Wow.
No, they think it might have. At first, they suspected a coach, but I think the boy, they talked to the driver, and it was someone in the stand. This is how lazy we're getting. The next thing it's going to be, people are going to be sitting in the stands. They're not going to want to go to the bathroom, so they're going to
No.
go to Walmart and have them deliver the pen to the game, or a porta potty or something.
From the sublime to the ridiculous, wow.
There you go. Yeah. So the only thing I can think of is that I don't know which school this was at. I don't think it would be at Loyola, maybe Duquesne, and they didn't. The person didn't like what was at the concession stand. Maybe it was sausage on a piece of wheat bread with ketchup, which you would never serve in Chicago. That's a felony in Chicago. That's a sausage this way.
Yeah.
As holy as sausages are to us in Cleveland, they're even more so in Chicago. So anyway, I just thought
It's a unique story, Paul.
I gave you a peek of the next story coming up here. Speaking of lazy, is my segue. Speaking of lazy people, this one comes from Japan. Hot new clothing fad in Japan. And I give you a hint. Here you go. Here's what we're talking about here. This is an actual clothing item in Japan. This is called the wearable beanbag. And for those of you who can't see it, it's a lovely young lady, slender. She has on what looks like a giant beanbag wrapped around her. Her head comes out a hole in the top. Her arms come out of 2 holes on the side, and her legs come out of a hole on the bottom. And the purpose of this is so that if you go someplace and you're not sure if they have chairs, you're already wearing a beanbag that you can conveniently just plop yourself down in. And
How do you get in a car with that thing on?
in the car?
Yeah.
Good question. You take it off, put it in the trunk or on the top, or
Oh, maybe.
Can't go in like that, obviously.
Yeah.
For people who can't imagine what that would be like, they even show the girl sitting on the ground in the beanbag. She's even sleeping. She can squish it up towards her head and use it as a pillow. She can even lay on her stomach and read a book, or it looks like she's looking at her phone. She could be reading a book, I think. No one does that anymore. She's looking through her phone, laying on her wearable beanbag. Now, if you want to wear it all day long, you get the optional one with clay pellets in it. And then it's called the wearable litter box, for obvious reasons. But maybe the guy who ordered Uber at the basketball game could wear one of these, and that would solve at least one of his problems.
Wow.
Now, John, you don't want to wear something like this around Mike Tyson, because it looks like a punching bag, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does look like a punching bag. Yeah, you don't want to be near Mike Tyson or any kind of professional boxer.
That's right, Mike Tyson, he wouldn't even be able to think. He would see a punching bag and immediately start banging away there.
Yeah.
Now, something you would never hear this lady say while wearing this contraption is, does this wearable beanbag make my butt look fat? It does.
Oh boy.
It does. It makes it, this is how lazy and how fat we're getting. Believe it or not, they're working on a relaxed fit version of the wearable beanbag. This is the world we're coming to. This is the world we're entering. Wearable beanbag.
It's in the excuse me, it's in the category of nothing surprises me anymore.
There you go.
Yes.
This would have been a perfect candidate for Bluff the co-host.
Yes.
It is so unbelievable.
You could work it into one of the shows.
Well, that's what we just did. So,
Oh boy.
John, I don't need to explain everything to you here. This is the purpose of the show. Real news, sometimes strange, always funny. That I think fits all three of those categories right there.
Yes, it hits it all. Yeah.
Okay. So, now we like to talk about food for humans. This is food for plants. And this is for you, Karen, for anybody out there who likes a house plant. There's a species of plant. I think this lady down there. I don't want to look at her anymore. The wearable beanbag. There's a species of plant called the pitcher plant. And what pitcher plants do, they're shaped like a vase, for flowers. And what they do, instead of waiting for bees, is they will eat the bees, or they eat flies. They're like Venus flytrap. They're carnivorous plant. That's what they're called. Great big pitcher plant. In South America and Africa, primarily, is where these plants live. So the botanists who watch these plants have discovered something unusual, and that is that there are areas where the insect population has gone down, and they're not catching as many bugs as they used to. So these plants have adapted, and instead of eating bugs, they open their pitcher mouth wider, and they catch the poop of birds and lizards in the trees above them. And they've learned to digest that instead of the plant. And they get the nutrients out of them, which they would have gotten from flies or moths or whatever else they catch. It's hard to believe, but impressive that a plant could figure this out. I'm making this. In fact, I'm working on a new Broadway musical based on this story. It's called the Little Shop of Ooh. Geez.
Good one, Paul. That's a good one.
But true story. Pitcher plant actually adapting to probably something that's due to climate change. The number of bugs that they eat falling down. So I would imagine this is affecting Venus flytraps as well, which was the star of Little Shop of Horrors, if I'm not mistaken.
Stands the reason. It definitely stands the reason.
The world is interesting. That's one reason you should tune into What in the World is that the news is real, and we try to make it interesting as well as funny. So that was one that I thought. I've done stories about pitcher plants before, and in the Sirius universe. So I'm a big fan of any kind of plant that eats meat. I think that's pretty cool. In fact, I did a story that just reminds me. There's a plant. It's a thorn plant in South America. Now, part of this is legend, and part of it is real. But it's apparently a plant that eats humans. And they swear, these explorers swear, they found skeletons inside these plants. They're bigger than a person, and they have these giant thorns, like you would see on a rose bush, except they're long. They're like 6, 7, 8 inches long. And people wander up, not knowing what they're getting into, and that's what happens. They get into the plant. The plant surrounds them and traps them with the thorn, and then slowly but surely sucks all the nutrients out of them, and all that's left is the skeleton. Yeah, look it up, Karen. It's
I don't want to go there.
carnivore. Yeah, don't want to go. Don't want to go
No.
to what were we talking about? Peru. Not interested in going to South Venezuela. Okay.
No.
This one comes from Russia. It actually comes from the International Space Station by way of Russia. Researchers at the Bauman Moscow State Technical University, one of the top schools in Moscow, they've developed a robot specifically for cosmonauts on the International Space Station because of a problem that the cosmonauts have. And that is, well, I'll let you figure it out. They developed a robot that gives massages. Now, it's not what you think. The cosmonauts, they're working up there, allegedly. And they get sore in their upper and lower back. And they have no way to get a massage. So they've invented this robot, that's a wearable robot. So somehow you strap it on, and while they're working, it slowly massages your back and massages your lower back, and
Kind of creepy. It's kind of creepy, Paul.
well, creepy in a kinky kind of way. I mean, this is not a help recruiting for the cosmonauts. Join the space program, get a massage in outer space. But I can just see these cosmonauts really getting into it, and this may be the reason why the Russian side of the International Space Station is falling apart. It's full of leaks, but the astronauts say it smells. What do they care? They're busy floating around getting massages all day.
Well,
the question I have is what did they do before they had this massage machine? And what I found out is that they had a special thing that they used to give each other massages. They would use a potato, and because they had plenty of potatoes up there, they'd rub each other with a potato. Anyway, that joke was placed in there for my lovely wife, who loves potato jokes. So
all right, there we go.
Thanks,
anyone
Donna.
who watches Late
Thanks,
Night with what's his name, Stephen Colbert, will get the joke. Speaking of space, Buzz Aldrin. Remember Buzz Aldrin, John?
Oh my gosh.
Yes, he was one of the first people that was able to get on the moon, be on the moon.
Walked on the moon, number 2 person on the moon.
Right.
So, Buzz Aldrin. Well, how old do you think he is?
Well, I read the story. I know he's 93.
Oh, okay, 93. Yeah, he's so he got married. That's why we're talking about. Is this a story you're referring to, that he got married?
Yeah.
Yeah, got married. Dr. Anka Fowler is her name. 30 years younger than old Buzz. She works at his company as an executive vice president of Buzz Aldrin Ventures. They sell, I love this, they sell branded Apollo mission merchandise. So he's basically, making money off of the fact that he was the second man on the moon, and pretty much one of the few left who worked on the moon.
Right.
So what I take away from that story is that good old Buzz doesn't need any more robot massages. He's got somebody who's, let's see, I'll do the math, 63 years old doing the massages for him. Not bad. I heard on honeymoon night, they used to call him Buzz Lightyear. Now they call him Buzz Lightheaded. he had a good time. At 93 years old, hey, come on, I gotta give him credit. Another space story. This one comes from the private side of space. Billionaire Jeff Bezos, who is the owner of the Blue Origin space venture, is sending the first ever all-female crew into outer space. How about that? NASA hasn't even come close to doing that. First all-female outer space crew, including his girlfriend, Lauren Sanchez, who is a pilot, a licensed pilot. So all these, I think, four women will be the first all-female crew on Blue Origin, and they're saying that this will be the first Blue Origin flight that lands exactly where the map says they're supposed to land and exactly on time. Because, the guys that pilot it, they don't care. Map, who needs maps? We can fly this thing.
Oh,
And we're making good time, right, John? Yeah.
there you go, man. There, a little double entendre there. Very
There
good.
you go. That's right. We're making
So
good.
this is that flight that goes up and then comes right back down,
Goes
right?
up and down. Yeah, it's the
Yeah. Okay.
silliest. That's right. It's not truly going into outer space. Goes up 60 miles in a parabola. For those of you that were awake in math class, a curve, and lands somewhere in Texas, and they run out and pop champagne and have a good time. So,
Yeah, they're going to land in Alex's parking lot.
oh, there
in
you go.
Texas.
That's
Sure.
Possibility.
Yeah.
They're in sun.
Possibility.
That's right. Yeah, but that'd be great. We could do a remote. William Shatner, of course, he's upset. Yeah, he already went on Blue Origin. They didn't have any women when he went. He was upset about that.
I'm sure.
He's ready to
Yeah.
beam up. If they have any trouble, he'll beam up. Okay, one more sports story for you, John. I'm stepping on your sports stories here, but you'll love this. This is from engineers at the University of Colorado Boulder. They designed a new rubber-like material. Get ready for this, that can leap high into the air on its own when heat is applied. Made from liquid crystal elastometers that form a cone when they're heated. And as the cone gets bigger, it springs upwards into the air. They said that it will fly up 200 times its own thickness in just 6 milliseconds. So like instantly, if you heat it up, shoots 200 times its height into the air and comes back down. Rumor has it, LeBron James is looking to wear pairs of heated socks, and then he's going to shove some of this in his shoes.
Oh,
Why not? What is that? What movie does that come from, though? That should remind you of an ancient Disney movie based on the idea of some sort of
Flubber?
what's that?
Flubber?
Flubber. That's right. That's not the name of the movie. In 1997, the remake was called Flubber. The original movie was called The Absent-Minded Professor. 1961, starring Fred McMurray from My Three Sons as the absent-minded professor. He invented a substance that gained energy when it struck a hard surface, a little bit different. So as the players stepped onto the court, their shoes would gain energy and they would start bouncing across the court. Very funny movie, black and white.
very, very, very funny movie. Absolutely.
Yeah. Black and white movie. This was released in 1961. It was a huge movie for Disney. The last big black and white movie that they made. And it did so well that they colorized it and re-released it as a color movie. They also did a sequel, The Son of Flubber. And in 1967 or 1997, Robin Williams starred in a movie called Flubber, which was based on the original movie. So, what do you think? Would that would not be legal, would it, John?
Would it be illegal? Well, yeah. I don't think it's outside the rules. Let's put it that way. Right.
Does the NBA and the NCAA, I guess they have regulations on what can go into shoes.
Well, yeah, I think they do have somewhat of a regulation or standard that you have to stay by. I mean, yeah, I mean, tennis shoes have to be of whatever composition they have to be, right? And yeah, I mean, let's go this way. I don't think it would work.
So
It's,
you think there's a flubber clause in there somewhere that says no flubber allowed?
I don't know if it's that specific, Paul. We'll have to look into it. I'll get back to you with that. I'll get back to you with the info on that. How does that?
Well, in the meantime, we're going to get into our sport for the week.
All right.
What in the world of sports with John DiNallo? Now, this week we should say what in the world of sports with John DiNallo and Karen Hale, because our media mogul and co-host Karen suggested this particular sport last week. And John said, "That's a great sport, Karen. Let me see what I can do." So, John, I'm going to let you take it away and explain it while I line up our photos.
Oh, sounds good. Sounds good. So as Paul said, we have a unique sport this week again, and you'll have to listen carefully as I tell you what the sport is. The sport is Tai Chi tennis. Yes, that's right. Our sport this week is Tai Chi tennis, but unfortunately, I'm going to confuse you further because this sport is also called Tai Chi softball.
That which is the name that Karen suggested, right?
Karen suggested the name Tai Chi softball.
Yeah,
and
but it actually has multiple names.
right, exactly. So anyway, but let's start at the origin here. For those of you not familiar with what Tai Chi is, it is a Chinese martial art that is practiced for defense training, health benefits, and meditation. So there's three purposes for Tai Chi. It is also called shadow boxing because that's what it looks like. As an offshoot of Tai Chi, Tai Chi tennis includes rotational and circular body movements that are graceful, relaxed, and flowing. It also adds the elements of rhythm, dance, and control of the ball.
Oh, okay. So there's a little bit of sport there. I'm waiting to hear where the sport is, control of the ball. Right?
Well, I'm glad
Like
you went to that.
Okay.
I'm glad you went there, Paul, because the sport was invented in 1991 by a professor. His name was Bai Rong, R-O-N-G, of Shaanxi University in China.
Okay.
He was a boxing trainer with a background in Tai Chi. He developed the exercises and equipment to aid people of all ages and of all levels of fitness. He wanted it to be fun and an enjoyable exercise. Now, it is said to improve your circulation, agility, flexibility, balance, and also hand-to-eye coordination.
Everything.
Now, as Paul has shown here with this photo, the equipment consists of a plastic racket, red on one side and blue on the other. In the center is a soft perforated rubber membrane with the yin and yang symbol in the center.
Yeah.
And there are several kinds of balls used. One is a soft rubber ball with a small amount of sand inside. Not exactly sure why there has to be
Not
sand.
really a tennis ball.
Well, yeah, it looks like a tennis ball, but there is sand inside for some type of,
Well, maybe we'll find out.
well, we'll find out. But anyway, the sport can be played individually or in groups. And the ball can be passed from one individual to another, as in football, or it can be played with a net, as in badminton. And the last several photos we see, the ones that have the net. Now, interestingly enough, the racket is not designed to hit the ball, but to guide it gently. And the ball is thrown and caught with gentle swooping movements. So there's a certain amount of grace to this activity. When used by advanced players, the ball appears to be stuck in the racket.
So you're not smacking it
Right
across.
there. Right, yeah.
You're just kind of almost like holding it on the racket
Yes.
and
Mhm.
passing it to another person.
It could almost be an optical illusion, but
A good description, John. It is. It's
but anyway, well, but here's an interesting point. Formalized practices is much like Tai Chi, because groups are led through a set number of chapters consisting of stylized movements of increasing difficulty. So it is really a sight to behold. I mean, I think you could be really enthralled or enchanted by seeing these people doing this activity. Now,
So they get together in like parks and things, and they
right,
and the leader tells them what to do, and they kind of pass back and forth, and kind of like these photos here, the blurry.
right. And that's
Yeah.
how it is in typical Tai Chi exercises.
Yeah, wow.
Now, this is for Karen. 2 organizations that are actively promoting the sport are the Taiji Beilong Ball Association, and that's in Germany, and the Rotary UK in the United Kingdom. So it has more international flavor than you would just think, just being in Asia. Now, some of the training tips sound interesting. Listen carefully. One is suspended from above, and the energy at the top of your head should be light and sensitive.
Oh, that's one of my mottos.
Words to live by.
Yeah.
Another is use your mind, not strength.
Oh, yeah.
But listen, one must relax completely to allow your chi to flow unobstructed.
Hmm.
Oh,
Then your movements will be nimble, circular, and spontaneous.
Ooh, oh,
And the last setting is seek stillness in movement and movement in stillness.
oh, sounds like a fortune cookie.
The slower, the better. Remain unmoving until the right action arises by itself.
Wow. Boy, this is heavy stuff here.
yeah, it is.
A little waxing philosophical a little bit,
Boy,
but
no kidding. It all in the middle of a sport that involves passing a ball back and forth on a couple of rackets.
that's right. Now, in closing, Tai Chi tennis sounds like a sport for all ages.
Okay.
Unlike regular tennis, it's all grand with no slams.
Oh,
Well, if anyone was watching the Australian Open this past weekend, there was terrific tennis action this
boy,
week
no kidding.
with
Yeah.
the Australian Open. Yes, it was. So,
Oh,
but,
I like this. I like this kind of tennis though, because you don't have I mean, the volleys. I'm sure they have volleys here, which is basically just passing the ball back and forth.
it's a striking
Follow
contrast.
the ball at least.
Oh, yeah. It's a striking contrast to professional tennis. And Karen, thank you for being able to source it out for us.
Oh,
Yeah,
you're so welcome. I just want you to know that in our house, when you say Tai Chi, you know that mom and dad want alone time.
Get ready for it. It happens more
Yep.
than once.
Oh man.
Right? Oh, yeah.
Only now with a racket and a ball. It sounds like something that you find out at Home Depot. Maybe
That's right. You're absolutely right.
You wouldn't find it in the lumber aisle.
another place to meet single women, maybe at Dick's Sporting Goods in the Tai Chi aisle. Oh,
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
wow! Look,
Everything
thank
comes full
you.
circle on our show, as you can tell.
And thank you, Karen, as well for that great sport, Tai Chi tennis. Now John is always so modest, you know. He you can't tell by looking at him, but he is a superb athlete. And he coaches me many times on different sports that I like to be involved with. And I know he wouldn't want to say this during his presentation, but he has actually coached me in Tai Chi tennis. And I don't know if you remember this, John, but I reached the day where I was trying to get your approval to let me know that I had reached another level. And then we had a photographer there to take a picture of it. And I remember exactly what you said to me that day. You said to me, you said, you can, when you can snatch the ball from my hand, you may move forward.
But what now? Boy, I had forgotten all about that, but now it comes right back to me. Thank you,
There's a
Paul.
young
Right.
me over
Wow.
there, and that's John holding the Tai Chi ball in his. That's obviously from Kung Fu, the opening of the Kung Fu show, which was on probably in the 70s.
Right. Mhm.
Yes, with David Carradine. So there you go, passing the ball. When you snatch the pebble from my hand, it's the time for you to go. And I think it's time for us to go to Bluff the co-host, if I'm not mistaken. So thank you again,
I'm
John,
excited.
well, for a great sport this week. All right,
Yeah,
let's get right to Bluff the co-host, everybody's favorite Weird News game. I have 3 stories similar to the ones we've been talking about all afternoon. One big difference. Those were all true. These may be true, they may be a bluff, and it's up to Karen, John, and those of you playing at home to decide. Gambling is allowed in Cleveland, so if you're in Cleveland, place your bets. John and Karen, put your hands on the buzzer, and we'll get right into story number 1. If you can't sleep at night, your problem may be the kind of fast food you eat and what you do with the napkin in the bag. That's the theory presented by a woman who claims she was tossing and turning one night because her feet hurt and she couldn't find her toe separators. Out of desperation, she grabbed some McDonald's napkins that were on her nightstand from her dinner in bed and shoved them between her toes. Believe it or not, she slept like a baby, a Ronald McDonald baby. Now she uses them every night and has no trouble sleeping. They have to be McDonald's napkins. She tried Taco Bell napkins and they gave her gas. Okay, so the lady who says the way to fall asleep is to put McDonald's napkins between your toes before you go to bed. What do you say, Karen and John? Real or bluff? Let's go with
Ooh,
Karen.
wow. Well, McDonald's napkins are sort of rough.
Well, that's to wipe the special sauce. All of it.
I mean, that doesn't feel comfortable. I'm gonna say this is false.
Okay, Karen says it's the bluff. How about you, John?
Yeah, I agree with Karen on this, and I'm on the same wavelength. I mean, those McDonald's napkins, they're made of some kind of recycled material, but I think they're only good if you eat McDonald's food. I wouldn't want to expose the rest of any other part of my body to those napkins. Again, I'm going to say it's false too.
McDonald's, send your letters of complaint to John DiNallo, care of
What in the world with Paul Seaburn?
That's right. Okay, so let's see the story of the lady who says to fall asleep, put McDonald's napkins between your toes. Karen says it's the bluff. John says it's the bluff. Do I have that right? Let's
Yes.
check with the judges, and the judges say, sorry about that. That's a real story.
Oh my God.
We are on a losing streak. I tell
Yeah,
you,
we
what,
are.
we really are. I
Wow.
mean, it's
Yeah, the TikTok
downhill
video,
fast.
of course, showing exactly how to do it. All right, so let's check down the scoreboard. It's 0-0. Another soccer match here.
Yep.
Let's get right to story number 2. Hands on the buzzer. If you're another having trouble here. If you're having trouble getting motivated to go to the gym, or you're just too embarrassed to show your out-of-shape body around all those fit people, maybe it's time to try fitness hypnosis. A hypnotist working at a gym is offering a service where she will hypnotize you and then give you suggestions on exercises. You stay in the trance until you're finished, oblivious to how hard you're exercising or who is watching you. The trance ends as you pass her while you're walking out of the gym, so you don't even get embarrassed while you're in the shower. The hypnotist claims one person lost 66 pounds while hypnotized, and she had no idea what she was doing. The hypnotist charges a small fee and says she has a long waiting list and is looking for more hypnotists to join her. Okay, so the hypnotist who hypnotizes you into doing exercises at the gym. What do you say, John? Real or bluff?
Well, I have a question, Paul. Do you know where this took place or where this story originated? Is it in the U.S.?
Yeah, in a gym.
Okay.
In a gym.
I'm trying to get arms around a state or city or something.
The United States.
All right, U.S. Okay, in our homeland. I'm going to say it's real.
Okay.
I'm
Well,
not going to give a reason why this time. I'm going to say it's real.
okay. Would you submit yourself to be hypnotized in order to exercise? I mean, not that you need any more exercise than you already get.
Oh, I need as much exercise as I can get. No, it sounds too freakish to me.
Okay.
Too freakish. Yeah.
Well, John, but you say that's a real story.
This is a real story. Yes.
How about you, Karen? Real or bluff?
I sort of think it's real because you can get hypnotized and go on a diet. You can get hypnotized to stop smoking. I
Right.
think this is great, and I want to know where it is so I can join.
Oh, wow. Okay. So Karen likes the idea enough that she would join. John doesn't like the idea, but he thinks it's real as well. So we have two reals. Let's check with the judges, and the judges say you're both right. That is
Yes.
Yeah.
Karen, finally, we break. Okay,
Yay.
the losing streak is over. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
All right. Our friend Dan will be happy to know that. At least we're moving.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, he will. He
For you,
probably.
Dan. It's
do
for
this
you.
too. I don't know the state, so you'll have to Google it.
Okay.
But real story, real hypnotist.
Okay, good.
Okay, so that means the score is 1-1. For those of you who have played Bluff the Calls before, you know that in round 3 points are doubled. It doesn't really matter in this case because the score is tied 1-1. So hands on the buzzer, let's get right to our rubber match, story number 3. If you thought the controversy over how sexy the M&M spokes candies are in the commercials was bad, it's about to get worse. A company that supplies deep fryers to state fairs and carnivals so they can sell deep fried everything is modifying one piece of their equipment in order to make deep fried M&M. Now, if you think people offended by the M&Ms wouldn't even eat them deep fried, you're right. The fryers will let the fairgoers deep fry the M&Ms themselves to give them the satisfaction of doing something for the cause. The deep fried candies will then be donated to the pig farmers who say their prize pigs will eat anything. The company says it's all in good fun and expects to do a lot of business this state fair season. So the company that makes deep fryers is modifying them so people who hate the M&M's commercials can deep fry M&M's on their own to punish the M&M, especially those green ones. What do you say, Karen and John? Real or bluff?
Boy, that is so convoluted. I can't even follow it. Oh, just because it's so convoluted, I'm going to say it's real.
Okay, all right. Deep fried M&M just to punish them is real. How about you, John? What do you say?
I agree with Karen. I'm going to say it's real, and I actually would like to see them pull it off. Nothing against the M&Ms. Okay, I think they're cute candies and everything, right? But another thing that is out there that's different and unique. So
Okay.
let's
So
see if
John
it's
and Karen both say punishing M&Ms by deep frying them at state fairs is a real thing. Let's check. Check with the judge. The judges are up here in this nebulous space in front of me, and the judges say, "Sorry about that. That's a fake story."
oh, it's not true.
That's
Oh
not
no.
true. That's a bluff. But
Well-
John, you sound disappointed.
I do. I mean, I'm kind of thinking that it would be novel. I mean, it would be very, very novel to see something like that.
That's right. Oh, I think it would sell great. If we should try it. If you know,
Well, it's like anything else. If we had the time and we had the resources, yeah. But I mean, something like this could happen in the future, maybe even the near future. So let's make sure we all stay tuned to
Or
new things.
Back to the Future.
Or back. There you go. Or Back to the Future. I mean, really,
that's right.
yeah, it's interesting to me. It is.
There you go. Somebody's going to be listening to What in the World and say, I like that idea. And I happen to have a deep fryer. And before you know it, we're going to see this going across the country.
And then we can.
Wherever you are, we want 10%.
Yes,
all.
we want
Yep.
some of the royalties. Yes.
Yes, we
want some of the
definitely do.
royalties.
We'll take 10%. That's all we want. So, okay, so the score ended up tied, which means that John and Karen are somewhat happy and somewhat disappointed.
Sure.
Oh, we at least got one
sure.
right, Karen.
Yeah,
Okay, so next week will be better. Next
We
week.
Scoreless
will
tie.
be. Yeah.
It's a scoreless tie. I'm glad that.
I'm gonna go to Paul's house when he's putting these stories together, and I'm gonna be the fly on the wall.
Oh,
Well, yeah, and then you can pass that information to me before
I
before. That's right. That'll be good, Karen. That way we'll have a leg up, so to speak.
You got it.
I put napkins between my toes for instance.
Oh no! Oh my gosh! You know, I wonder if there's going to be a sequel to that. I just leave it up to your imagination of where
Oh, that's
McDonald's napkins can help you.
Yep.
right. I think so.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever is right. Good one. Good one, Karen. Good one.
Josh
right.
was getting all worked up about that. Next thing he's gonna go down to Home Depot now with some napkins.
That's right. I'm going to be having my cheeseburger on the way, and then I'll have the napkin in my hand.
All
Oh,
right. Another week of What in the World, everybody's favorite weird news podcast. I want to thank Karen Hale, our media mogul at newclevelandradio.net and co-host. Thanks so much, Karen, for everything you do for us, for being a great co-host. Thank you for all the great podcasts that you offer on newclevelandradio.net. Everybody listening and watching, please check them out. There's something for everybody there. And as always, I'll thank my good friend John DiNallo for being a good sport and also for providing What in the World of Sports and trivia answers and everything else you do. Thank you, John.
You're welcome, Paul. It's always a fun hour. It's a great hour every week for me. So
There you
looking
go.
forward to next week too.
Yes,
Very
yes.
good.
John Adams, wherever you are, for banging the drum for us. We really appreciate that. We will be back next week with another episode of What in the World. So until then, we'll do something strange, always funny. That's our motto. And we will say bye-bye for now.
Have a good
great
week,
day,
everybody.
everybody.